welcome. I thought I would do a cozy embroidery video with you today. I have bought embroidery kits from Amazon quite a while ago actually. I've actually had this print for a couple years now, and I only feel like doing it during the fall time, so I'm a bit of a snail's pace here, trying to finish it. But as you can see, it's a lovely pumpkin fall theme, and I left the pumpkins blank for such a time as this to fill in with you. So you can see there's some leaves, some flowers, some vines. If it's still available, I will link the kit for this embroidery print that I got. So very festive. I did finish a Christmas one last year, so I find that these are so easy once you kind of get the hang of it. You can also, Google how to embroider. I like the patterns because they help me not feel, they make me feel like I'm following something and I don't need to kind of think through it too much. But there are tons of amazing tutorials that are super easy to follow on how to embroider, and to be honest, not every stitch is very perfect, and I don't try to make it perfect, and that's that. But yeah, so let me grab the kit. So the materials came in this little envelope. You can see this is the print. As you can see, I have all the string. I think it's called something else, but essentially it's string, kind of like yarn, but mine is all very messy looking, but I promise it's not that tangled. It's just kind of loosey-goosey, but they have different numbers indicating the different colored string. And then it comes with this little step-by-step guide, which looks a little overwhelming at first, but the notes here indicate the color, the stitch, and the strands. The strands of string that kind of make it thicker or thinner looking. So for example, the orange one that we're doing today is a straight stitch, 8th color, 4 strands. So that's what I'm going to be focusing on for the 8 parts for the pumpkin. A lot of these stitches are pretty simple. Some of them are a little bit more intermediate, but I don't find, at least for this kit, any of them very complicated. And then on the back, they do have instructions for simple stitches, which I find as a good reference, but I also have looked up YouTube videos and they have been really helpful as well. Yeah, that is the print, and I look forward to getting started with you and diving right on into the pumpkin here. So I'm going to do the 8 color, I think, and that is 4 strands. Okay, so usually the kit comes with the print, the cloth, the rounded frame sometimes they don't come with the frame, so you have to be really careful that your kit does include it, otherwise you're kind of gonna have to go get it. And then a couple of needles, sewing needles, which mine is kind of tucked in right here, and I'll grab that. And then I just need my string colors, so we can see this is number 8. So I think the worst part about embroidery, if there would be a worst part, because to be honest it's pretty enjoyable for me at least, is getting your string tangled can be a nuisance, or accidentally poking yourself with the needle. I think after a little while you get the hang of it and your body starts to understand the motor skills a little bit with sewing, so you don't have any incidents as often. But I think this is called a skein of string, like a group. One singular skein has individual strings in it that we're gonna pull apart. So otherwise this would be way too thick to use. So I'm just going to grab one of the skeins. Again, if this is mispronouncing it, my apologies, but I'm not a professional seamstress. That's fine by me. Although I do wish I had learned some skills when I was younger. But you know, it's never too late to learn something. I think I'm realizing that as I get older, there really is so much more life ahead of us to learn anything we absolutely want. So get out there and learn something that you've always wanted to try. So now I have one string from that group of strings, and in this individual there are actually little strings making up the whole bunch, and so I can pull apart 4 strands, or what I like to do is pull apart 2 and then I fold it in half to make 4 strands. It may seem like it makes it shorter, which technically it does, but I like to knot my needle a specific way, and you'll see in a minute. So I'm just going to take the string, and I see 2 here. I try to get them close together so that they're not like really dangling, and then I'm just going to start to slowly pull it apart. And you want to be very slow with this process because this is where the tangling can sort of happen. Not to mention while you're sewing, but... Alright, so now I have my 2 strands pulled, and I'm going to fold the string in half. Okay. Until the ends are about measured up. And then, maybe this is TMI, but I do lick the string to make it more malleable. It's just what I do. But you just hold the string very tightly, and then you take your needle and feed the string through the end, like that. Very simple. So I like to leave a little tail, just a little bit, and then the other side should have a loop that you can easily, like a loop, like that. And then we're just going to start from the bottom here of this pumpkin. See if I can see this. Okay, so there we go. And I'm gonna lift it up, and we're gonna tie our first knot, even though it looks like we're not doing that, because usually you would tie the knot after the end of the needle, but I don't like doing that because I just feel like it's more complicated. So as you could probably know or tell, I didn't pull the entire end through. I'm gonna leave some out as we will be using that, and just going to make my first tiny little stitch. Feed the needle through the back. Now, our needle's in the back. I'm going to take the loop here that is left back here and just fold it over. Fold it over, just like from Schitt's Creek. Fold it in. So now the needle is sticking through the loop, and when I pull the needle back through, it should make, if it doesn't get tangled, oh boy, it should make a little knot. You can see the ways I've traveled my string around. I'm not a perfect seamstress, so don't come for me. And there you go, we have our first straight stitch, 4 strands. And now I'm going to go back through the back and just start continuing the stitch. So I'm someone who can barely sew a button on pants. So if I can do this, you could do this, you know what I'm saying? It's not too complicated, thankfully. So maybe you have a cup of tea, or maybe you are in bed, or maybe you're at work, or maybe you also have a craft and you're watching this, who knows? But first, I would like to say thanks for watching, and I hope this is cozy and comfortable and with all the fall vibes. I know I'm covering up all my decor, but I just wanted to give a quick shout out. These little pumpkins and leaves and these like grapes, these fake little items, they are actually from my grandmother's decor. She passed a few years ago, and I was able to keep some of her fall decor, and I just feel like that's very special that I get to have her in a way surrounding my little craft, and I'm making my own fall decor in a way, so I think that's lovely, and she would be really excited about it. So I think for me, fall felt like it went by very quickly, and now we're quickly entering into the holiday season, which I love and is my favorite time of the year. These last 3 months of the year are always my favorite, but I just feel like it's coming up so quickly, and I don't know, I always get nervous that I'm not going to make the most of it, but I think I will, so I'm trying not to be too hard on myself. So, yeah, I've definitely been a little bit more anxious than I would like to feel lately. I think it's something where it has to do with a variety of different things. Like, work is very busy right now, and a little stressful, but at the same time, I feel like it's not, and I don't know if anyone can relate, but sometimes I wish I didn't feel too emotionally attached to work. And when I say that, I don't mean like I love my job so much that, you know, I can barely eat and sleep because it's all I want to do. Like, that's not how I feel. How I feel is obligation and stress to, you know, perform well so that I can keep my job. You know, that's kind of where that is coming from. Not necessarily from a place of, oh man, I could eat, breathe, and sleep this. And I think most of us have that experience, so I know I'm not quite alone in that. But I've been spending time returning back to crafts like this, and I've been watching Gilmore Girls again, which I love. It's a very comforting show, and I feel like I've watched it a couple times, so the dramas and like annoyances of certain characters or episodes, I kind of like brush that over because it's not as like intense anymore, since I kind of know what happens. It's actually nice to catch things now that I didn't before. So a comfort show is like a really great way to, I guess, kind of get back into feeling a little bit more alive, not so stressed. But yeah, overall, I'm doing very well for how busy it is. Let's see, I think sometimes I don't go too high with stitches because I feel like it doesn't really work that well, but I'm just gonna do halves. See, I'm just like going in a totally different direction now. But I feel like everything looks nice once it's done, so I don't really mind if stitches kind of go in different directions. So, yeah. I really want to get back into my rhythm of reading more. I feel like I've been kind of off my game a little bit. I did finish a book recently. It was Love on the Brain. I liked that book a lot. That was a good book. I was a fan of it. Now I'm trying to read a book called Look Closer. It's like a thriller, but it's actually kind of scary. So I'm kind of scared to read it. Even though I'm usually fine with thrillers, I don't know what it is. Maybe I'm just like too sensitive right now, you know. Sometimes I just need my fantasy and my romance and I'm good for a little bit. So I might kind of go back. I've heard The Fourth Wing is a really good book. I've heard a lot of good reviews and I would love to get that book. I have so many books that I need to read that I've bought. But I think if I did want to buy another book, or maybe try and read it before the end of the year, it would be that book, because I've heard great things. But yeah, let me know if you have any favorite books, because I am still trying to keep a list of new books to read, even though I do have a TBR list right now on my bookshelves. I have a serious problem, okay? And speaking of books, I want to get back into writing. I think I might have mentioned a while ago in a video that I wanted to return to writing a book that I wrote half of a couple years ago, really, at this point. But once I posted that video about writing again, I had gone on a trip to New York, which was great, and I spent a lot of time with family and my husband's family over there. But when we tried to get back home, you guys, let me tell you the story, okay? Buckle up. So, it was a Saturday to Saturday trip, and we were leaving Saturday afternoon to go back to LA from New York, from JFK. And it's the first week of September, and it was so hot and so sunny. And then the last few days, we started to get some rain and some thunderstorms, which should have been a big red flag. And I've learned my lesson. Well, we got to the airport and went on our flight. It was like a 5 o'clock flight that's supposed to leave. We sat and taxied for 3 hours on the plane. They would not let us go because of the storm. There was like thunderstorms. It wasn't even raining, but it was like stormy. They made us wait 3 hours, which is like the legal amount of time they're allowed to keep you on the plane. And then they took us back to our terminal and made us all leave. And then when we got off the plane, they said there were no more planes leaving that night. Now, I don't think that's exactly true, But I mean, at the time, that was kind of what was going around. I think what happened and what we found out later was our pilot needed a full night's rest to even get back on the plane and drive it, essentially. So they moved our flight from Saturday afternoon to the next morning, Sunday morning at like 6, 8 in the morning. But at that point, you know, me and my husband had nowhere to stay. And we were prepared to, you know, either book a hotel or, you know, sleep in the airport if we had to. It turns out they canceled so many flights out of JFK, and every hotel in Queens, I think we were in Queens, I think that's where JFK is, but every hotel around us, every Airbnb was booked. And like the cheapest nights we could find were like $1,000. It was insane. And what's funny is, well, it's not funny because it was actually very traumatic, not, and also dramatic, but it was awful. I did not enjoy it. I'm not someone who does well without sleep, and also is in like a circumstance where I don't know where I'm gonna sleep. So at first we thought we got a hotel at a ridiculous price. I'm not even gonna say what it was. But it ended up being a bust because of a third-party app we were using. It just basically thought there was space and there really wasn't. So at that point we had left the airport, which meant, if you don't know, security closes and they do not open until the next morning. So we were stranded outside the airport after leaving it, thinking we had somewhere to sleep. And then, as you can imagine, we are now outside the airport and have nowhere to sleep. And it's like 10 o'clock at night, 11 o'clock at night. So that was stressful. That was very stressful. And we have like bags with us, right? So it's not like we're like, oh, we can like romp around the city for all hours of the night. Like, we had luggage with us. So we ended up crashing on a friend of my husband's bed. But it was like an hour-long trip back to northern New York where we were staying. It was like it's, you know, Yonkers, essentially. Yonkers, Bronx area. So that's like an hour away from JFK already. Commute. But we got to sleep for like 3 hours on his bed. And I'm very grateful. But it wasn't exactly like a full night's sleep. And it wasn't very, you know, it was comfortable, but it wasn't, you know, the lack of sleep doesn't exactly kind of help. Thankfully, I had some extra clothes in my carry-on, so we at least had some change of stuff with us. Because we had already checked our bags on the plane, so we left our bags basically on the same plane that we intended to leave the next day on. So we get up at like 5 in the morning, head back to JFK, realize that our 8 o'clock flight is now delayed again to the afternoon. So that was the second delay. Oh my gosh. At that point, I just wanted to be home with my dog. I've never wanted to be home more in my life. It's so strange being an adult and realizing the things that bring you incredible anxiety and stress. It's so interesting, you know, when you're a kid and like you're really tired or you're really hungry and you just like have a full-on tantrum, you know, kind of thing. Or you really have to go to the bathroom. Like, those things as kids were just so intense, you know. And now as adults, we know how to like manage a lot of that. But I think when you have these types of stressful situations as an adult now, especially like being away from your home and not knowing if you're going to be able to get home, I mean, incredible stress. And I could just feel it in my body, just everywhere. And so we got back to the airport, checked back in through security, and I was like, I'm not leaving this airport until I go home. And a lot of people were sleeping in the airport. It was just, everyone was in the same boat, unfortunately. And then finally, we're waiting and waiting. We get breakfast, and I see this update on my phone that said our flight was going to be delayed again. And I was so, like, ready to throw in the towel. Like, I was just like, how? I was so ready to throw in the towel. I was ready to essentially, like, what do we need to do? Maybe I can go to Pennsylvania, see my family in there that I know I have, and maybe we can get a different flight. But it was just an East Coast storm from, like, the hurricane weather in Florida was traveling up and blocking every, like, direction for planes. It was just a mess. And the customer service lines were so long, so there was no point in waiting in a line. No one was going to help us, and it would have been hours of waiting. If you're ever in a situation like that, instead of going to a kiosk customer service for, like, we were on Delta, I recommend going on the app and chatting with a customer service rep. That's what I did to figure out what could be done. And they basically told me, like, there's nothing else going out. Your plane is going to go out as soon as, like, as earliest as anything else. So just stick with your plan, because that's, like, the best we can do right now. And I saved myself from having to wait in a humongous line. So I highly recommend going to their customer service chat service on those apps versus waiting in lines that could take forever. At least try it first, and then you can decide if you need to do the line. Alright, I'm reaching the end of my little, we're supposed to do different layers of orange, so that's why I'm doing a very thin layer here. I think there's also a layer back here, so I think I'm gonna just, I mean, I don't think it really matters. I'm not getting tested on my embroidery, so I think I can just do this if I want. So yeah, that, and then when we got on our plane, we actually did talk to a customer service rep, and we're like, is our plane being delayed for a third time? Like, we need to know. And they were like, no, it's gonna go out, just stick with it. And we did, and they made us wait another 3 hours in the plane because the weather was clearing up, but there was like 40 to 50 planes that still needed to go out before us. And so they made us wait right up until the end, and then we took off. I don't think I've ever cried so much in a weekend over a plane ride. Like, I've never experienced that before. For those 3 hours waiting to see if we would take off, I just sat staring at the front of my seat. I couldn't watch TV, I couldn't read, I couldn't do anything. I was just desperately hoping we could leave. And of course, I'm home now, so that's all behind me. But I will say it killed the desire to travel very quickly. Honestly, when I got back, I cried at the grocery store because I was like, I can't believe I get to be in Walmart and buy food. Like, this is amazing. So it gave me a little perspective and made me realize that I am definitely a homebody, and I cannot deal with travel stress on, like, a frequent basis. So that was something I learned about myself. I was like, oh, I always thought maybe I'd be like an avid traveler, but you know what? I can't handle this right now. This is too much for me. I am not actually as much a traveler as I thought I was. So that was a big lesson, and I still, to a month and a half later, where I'm at right now, I do not want to travel for a very long time, for a few months, if at all. on a plane specifically. I would travel like via car, but I just really am enjoying being home. So, of course, you know, it was rough. So there was only so much that could have been done, and yeah, I think I'm just glad to be back and home with my embroidery. The simple things, right? Okay, I feel like I need to know. Okay, so I did that. I think I'm just gonna go back here. I'm just kind of trying to use up the string that I have. But yeah. And now we're here and enjoying the little things like sewing. I've really wanted to try the paint by number crafts as well, but I haven't found anything like print-wise that I like. I'm definitely someone that enjoys art, but I'm not necessarily a freestylist a lot of the time. Like, I can copy things pretty okay. Freestyling, though, is just like not in my bones. So yeah. And if anyone's traveling for the holidays, I do hope that you have the best travel experience, because I don't wish it upon anyone to have a terrible amount of delays, especially if you don't have anywhere to stay. I think that's the worst part, is we didn't really have a lot of people we knew that had like a free bedroom. Like, not a lot of people we know have space for us. But it was okay. Like, it wasn't the worst. So, another thing I wanted to mention was how at the beginning of November there will be a new change with YouTube. They are forcing everyone to have ads at the end of their video, whether they like it or not. I'm almost positive that means even if I didn't monetize my videos and chose not to have ads, you would still see ads at the beginning and end of the video, because Google will do it either way. They don't care. So, I'm thinking of how to combat that a little bit, but unfortunately there's not too much options out there. You know, so I think there might be some tricks to like loop a video, or I'm not really sure I want to upload like 8-hour long loops of my video. Personally, I just feel like that's not quite, I don't know, my jam. I also don't know if a lot of people use my videos to really sleep. Personally, I often watch or listen to ASMR before I fall asleep, but I have to like turn it off, the device, and then actually fall asleep. So I never really fall asleep. I just get sleepy enough to then be able to fall asleep, if that makes sense. And I mainly actually use ASMR at my job to like wind down in the evening. So it depends. We'll see. I might experiment with longer outros, like rain sounds or something. But I don't know about like an 8-hour long loop. Again, I'm not going to rule it out, but I will see about that. I think a lot of us are in the ASMR community are not unsure of how this is going to affect everyone, and of course it's not a great experience for the watcher to be, you know, having a jump scare of ads at the end of the video. I understand from Google's perspective, they want to make money. So, you know, it's just kind of unfortunate they don't give the options for us. So, that's the new development that I'm sure many people might know of, and hopefully I'll find a way to combat it just like everyone else, and we'll find what works. Okay, my string has gotten short enough that I'm going to go ahead and just remove the needle, and I'm going to just tie a knot at the very end here, and just do another knot just for safekeeping, you know? Okay. Just have a handy pair of scissors on the side. Okay. Look at that. It's coming together a little nicely. So I have a new string now since I ran out, and I'm just going to start, I think I'll start from over here. And again, keep a little bit back there to be able to not rough at first, but we did it. Okay. I think I've enjoyed being home and settling back in and trying to figure out how to get back into my writing again, because I think after the travel incident I got back home and I just needed time to like get back to filming and just my regular routine. So I just kind of had to go take a step back from it a little bit, but I'm feeling in the mood again, and I'm thinking maybe in November I just will be dedicating time to it if I can. It would be nice. I turned 30 in December, so I'm planning some things for my birthday weekend. I really want to, usually we have like a family dinner, so I'll probably do something with my family. I don't really have a big group of friends, so that's not really a party like that isn't quite in the cards for me. But a family dinner is absolutely fine. And I also really want to go to Disneyland because I'm a child. We had Disneyland passes last year, but could not renew due to a couple of different events going on at the time and all that jazz. So we decided not to renew for this year, but I thought, well, why not just go for my birthday and I can have my dose of Disneyland, you know? And so we're in the works potentially to do that. I'm really hoping that pans out, and I think my siblings might join. So that would be even more fun because I enjoy my siblings. And yeah, I have just such a love for Disneyland during the Christmas time. It's just one of my favorite places for during Christmas. It's so festive and I love it. So that would be extra special to do that. And I took the day off work for my actual birthday because it lands on a Monday. Nothing sounds more terrible than a birthday landing on a Monday and it being your work day. So I took the day off, and I'm just gonna do whatever I want that day. I thought maybe I would even do like a spa day of some kind, like get a massage or a facial or both. I think as I'm older, I realize that birthdays are like about me spoiling myself. I don't have children, I don't have too many obligations, and why not? And so I, for sure, want to pamper myself in some way, and even if it means being home all day watching a TV show and just rotting on the couch with my dog and eating pizza or whatever. That sounds even better. So we'll see what what ends up happening. But I'm glad that I'm taking the stance of celebrating myself and not really making it about, other people. And that's kind of what birthdays are about. Making it special for yourself, because as a kid it was about your parents. Usually your parents would celebrate you and throw parties, and now that I'm an adult, it's like, well, now it's like different. So that's how I'm going to spend my birthday, and it's quite around, it's right up my alley of what I like. And I'll probably do some Christmas embroidery too. Who knows? I have a couple prints left that I have from years ago. So, yeah. Maybe I'll finish up this part of the pumpkin. I don't know why I thought I would be like so much further along. Maybe it's because I'm not sewing quite as fast on camera. I feel like that might be a reason. But I'm hoping to finish this little part with you. Anyway, I do appreciate you spending this time with me, listening to me ramble and do a little cozy craft. I hope it was cozy and just, something simple. I am definitely excited to film more content and help you relax, help you unwind, I think we need that, especially now. So, I just want to take this opportunity to say that I hope you are well wherever you are and doing okay, and there's so much that goes on in our lives and in the world, and I just want this place to be a place where you feel comfortable and safe, and I hope that you found this